morning, guys. We are at Great Basin National Park. We're at the Lehman Caves Visitor Center, and we're just walking up. To do the Mountain View Nature Trail, which is a real quick 3/10 of a mile loop. And we're going to stop here at Rhodes Cabin first. We just got our tickets for the cave tour. We didn't reserve them in advance. The ones you could reserve in advance were sold out. Rhonda looked on her phone when we were driving over. And so if you get here at 8 a.m. right when they open up, it's kind of first come, first served, and we were able to get tickets. So we're going to be doing the cave tour here in just a little bit. But this is a little exhibit called Rhodes Cabin. I'm going to flip this around. So we are staying down in Baker, which is at the bottom. We knew we were climbing driving up, but I didn't realize how much we had climbed. One of the hikes here we're going to do, well, we're not doing the Wheeler Peak hike, we're going to do the Alpine Lakes hike near Wheeler Peak, but Wheeler Peak is over 13,000 feet. It's starting to fill up, more people are showing up. We're now on that Mountain View Nature Trail. Got, looks like a mixture of some pinyon pines here and some juniper. Some sage. I told Rhonda when we were driving up here I could just spend a whole week shed hunting around here. Of course, probably can't take any, there's some Mormon tea. Probably can't take any sheds out of the national park, but man, it'd be really tempting not to want to shed hunt around here. Just looks like prime area. Again, this little hike's only 3/10 of a mile. We just wanted to get it in before we do our cave tour. You are allowed to take cameras on the cave tour, so hopefully we'll get a little bit of that for you. They've got these nice little signs with the different fauna that you're seeing. Little sign for prickly pear. Of course, the sign's here and the prickly pear is over here, but and there's a lookout over the basin.
A wooden truck or something.
Yeah. You won't be able to see it in the GoPro likely, but it's got this little ring with all the mountains around. I mean, you can see the ring, but here's Mount Moriah. There's Mount Moriah way out in the distance. And as you scan back to the east and kind of moving south, there's Notch Peak way out, which again, I can see with my naked eye. Not sure you'll be able to see it on the GoPro. As we come down due south, that's Snake Range, which you can get to that from the park. There's some gravel roads. And now we're working north. Now we're facing west. And you can't see Wheeler Peak. It's obscured from here, but the Wheeler Peak's this direction. And I guess that mountain, did you say Doso Doyabe, hon? Is that how you pronounce that? The one you can see?
That sounds pretty good.
Doso Doyabe. Is that tall peak right there? So this used to be the entrance to the cave. This is the natural entrance. This sign talks about how the Park Service has blasted a new entrance in, and now they've reopened this to make it easier for the bats to access the cave. It says over the last few years, 40 to 50 female Townsend's big-eared bats have raised their pups in Lehman Caves. So that's where the original entrance was. This is Cliff Rose. We've been reading all the little interpretive signs. I didn't really know the name of this, but they have a lot of these bushes in Capitol Reef. And earlier in the summer, before those flowers die, they smell incredible. Remember, Ron and I were hiking to a slot canyon there one year, and just the entire air smelled like you were walking in a perfume shop or something. It smelled so good. Again, here's looking back to the south and then scanning towards the east.
It's a walk-in thing, and every time that door shuts, I just like,
It scared you?
there's just something that's like, you will not be, you will not walk in. So cool.
You're gonna have to pace yourself, honey. Or you're gonna be way behind everybody.
He's kind of trying to take some pictures. It's like, okay, he's wants to take some pictures. You just see some cool discoveries like this.
That's really cool right there.
Share with everyone, which if you don't know, means an unsubstantiated claim that another ranger told me and I will share with all of you, is that all throughout this room, you can see a lot of FSs. Now, I cannot say with 100% certainty that I know for a fact it was the United States Forest Service. What I'm saying, though, is that I know for a fact this many people named FS did not visit this cave. So I will let you form your own conclusions as to what you think happened there. But jumping ahead in time again, 1933, in comes the National Park Service. And as the National Park Service is making their way through this cave, plotting their very early cave tours, they take one look.
I just filmed some on the scene when I first sat down.
Welcome to the Cypress Swamp, and over there in the lake room, feel free to kind of keep filing so that everyone has a chance to see it. But you might be looking around our swamp and kind of be realizing there's not a whole lot of water within it. This is because this section of the cave is one of the best indicators of what is happening outside the cave. Every year in Great Basin National Park, we get a ton of snow. That snow melts and it needs to go somewhere. And more often than not, the snow on top of this mountain melts and kind of makes its way into this cave, usually pooling in this room. The thing is that this year we got about 30% of the normal amount of snow that we get. Hence the lack of water within the swamp. In fact, the water over there in the lake room is not even from this year, it's from Clean Creek. And there was so much snow, it kind of
Oh, it's cool up there. Yeah.
this piece of cave bacon in this cave, right over here. And you'll see when I shine my light through this cave bacon, the light kind of pushes through, looking a lot like bacon, and it's kind of a cool little cave party trick.
We are at the Wheeler Peak overlook. It's a little windy, and I don't currently have the windscreen on. We're over 9,500 feet. We just passed the 9,500 feet elevation sign on the road. And then that's looking at Wheeler Peak. Beautiful. And here's looking back out over the basin. Wow, just incredible views. Sure, it's going to be high 90s, if not 100 in Baker, which is at the bottom of the mountain. It's in the 70s right here. The car said 78 or 77, I think, when we pulled over. Well, we just started the Alpine Lakes Trail, and it also connects to the Bristlecone Trail. If you do them separately, one is 2.8 miles and the other is 2.7. But if you combine them, it looks like it'd be a little shorter than that. So our plan is to do both. So that'll put it between 5.5 and 6, I guess. So breeze is nice and cool this high in elevation. What did I say you're starting at 10.1? 98. 9,800 feet is the start. So the road went over 10. Then you kind of drop down into this little bowl for the parking area. Got these taller ponderosa pines up this high instead of just the pinions. Got a tiny little creek coming down. Looks like in the early spring or maybe a good winter, it's going to be wider than this. That's why they got this catwalk built. Not a whole lot of water in it, but it's pretty. Well, we just passed the intersection of the Summit Peak trail where it connects with the Alpine Lakes Trail. And got great views of Wheeler Peak from here. Talked to a couple people who have hiked the peak today, and they said it was beautiful but really windy, which it's windy here. So I imagine, oh, there's a chipmunk. I imagine it's even windier up there. A friend of mine from back in Logan has hiked Wheeler Peak, and he said that that saddle right there before you start the last descent, he said they've built rock cairns to hide behind. The wind is so bad up there if you just feel like you need to get out of the wind for a second. So evidently that little saddle right there is extremely windy. And then of course you got that last hike up to the peak. All right, we're coming up on Stella Lake. It's awfully pretty. And again, pictures of the peak right above. We left Stella Lake and now we're working down towards the second lake. And I've forgotten the name of it, but I'm sure there'll be a sign up here, so make sure I tell you what the name is. I'm thinking it was Louise, but
Teresa.
Oh, Teresa. So it's Stella and Teresa are the two lakes. And we left Stella, now we're working mainly downhill now. We kind of flattened off and looks like it'll be downhill to Teresa. But yeah, you've got Wheeler Peak just right there looking down at you the whole time. What a pretty spot. Trail is really well marked, and then they've got tree blazes, so they've got these red blazes in the trees just to keep you on the trail. But really you wouldn't need them. I mean, this trail is super well maintained. A couple little catwalks in it in the areas we can tell it's probably marshy and muddy at certain times of the year. Just a beautiful hike. We talked to a group of people who grew up in Baker and the other little town down here, which I think is called Garrison, they said. So they were telling us about some out-of-the-way places that we should check out. We just don't have the time on this trip, but now I'm really thinking we'll bring the kids back out here and camp sometime. Well, we've got a few more days to explore, and I'd like to fish it. I'd like to bring my fishing pole out here and do a little fishing. All right, looks like we're coming down the final switch back to Teresa. It's just off to my left over here. And it's got a pretty little inlet flowing into it. Not a lot of water in it, but there's that tiny little inlet. And then through the trees, the lake is just out over there. My lake might be a stretch. Might should call this a pond. It's not very big. I think this one's even smaller than Stella. But still pretty, and still be a great place to fill up your water bottle if you had a way to treat it. Which I do have iodine tablets on me. I always carry them in my first aid kit. But we've got plenty of water, so I think we'll be fine. Well, look at these pretty flowers here on the edge. I don't don't know if they'll show up on the GoPro, but man, look how bright they are. Super pretty. Here's the bottom end of it. Teresa Lake, 10,230 feet. So now we're going to work our way down this trail. It's going to reconnect with the Bristlecone trailhead and we're going to hike it. That's the plan. So as long as we're both still feeling good when we get down there, that's what we're going to do. Still on the Bristlecone Grove Trail. That really cool spire sticking up there on the peak. I would guess we've got half a mile maybe to get there, maybe a little less. Here's a great view looking back out east over the basin. Yeah, don't miss it. Don't put in all the work for nothing. All right, well, we've made it into the Bristlecone Pine Grove. Look at that tree right there. That's super cool. There's that pinnacle on that one peak again. It's so cool right there.
Which way is it?
It's that way. This hike goes around a loop around about the Bristol Cone.
This one goes?
Yeah, it's like the Orange Path.
So these Great Basin Bristlecone Pines are 3,000 to 5,000 years old. And on the other sign it said that they were named a distinct species back in 1970. They're super resistant to decay. Like it says, they don't really decay, they erode. They grow very slowly. So that's how they take core samples. Super cool. All right, guys, time to wrap up this video. We'll do the channel shout out, Minute on the Mountain. Well, I may not do a channel shout out, may just be the Minute on the Mountain, but if you ever get a chance to go to Great Basin National Park, I would do it. We really enjoyed that park. We're gonna go back. I want to camp there. One thing to be aware of, the lodging is limited. There's a little tiny town called Baker that's at the base of the park. We stayed at a place called the Whispering Elms RV park, but it did have a little tiny motel with like 6 rooms. And they were cute. They kind of have a cabin feel to them, and they were clean, good water pressure, and I think we paid $140 a night, something like that for it. So just be aware of that. There's that, and there's the Borderline Hotel, which is on the Utah-Nevada line. They've got some rooms, but there's not much there, so just be aware of that as you're making your plans. But it was 92, I think, or 93 in Baker, and it was 79 up at the top of Great Basin National Park. There were several other hikes we could have taken there. We just didn't have the time. We could have hiked Wheeler Peak. That'd be a really cool hike. I'm sure the views from the top up there are amazing. There's also a glacier hike. There's essentially an extension of the Bristlecone Grove that we did hike. So there's another canyon. I think it was called Snake Creek. Supposedly has fish in it. We drove up there in the dusk one evening, and I kind of walked the creek for a while. I never saw any fish. Obviously that doesn't mean they don't have any, but the water levels are really down this year. Their snowpack they got this last winter wasn't much at all. So on a good water year, I'm sure the fishing's a little better. But anyway, Great Basin National Park. If you ever get a chance, I think you'd love it if you like the outdoors, which most of you who watch this channel do. So let me know what you think. If you've been there, comment below what your favorite part was. It'd be cool to hear from others of you who've done it. We love the cave tour too. I mean, that Lehman Cave is pretty spectacular. Minute on the Mountain today comes from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. I believe it's verse 17, where Paul tells the Thessalonians to be thankful in all circumstances. I heard a really good message from a pastor friend of mine years ago. It was titled, Mind Your Prepositions. And he stressed that Paul didn't say be thankful for all circumstances. He said be thankful in all circumstances. In other words, you know, things like disease and cancer and loss and death, we don't have to be thankful for that. Like, those are the result of living in a broken, fallen world. They're the result of sin. We don't have to be thankful for that, but we can be thankful in those situations. We can still be thankful. We can still have joy, in fact. And a big reason for that is because this is temporary. You know, these trials, these heartaches, these pains are not going to last forever. Jesus is coming back. He's going to make everything right. That's why Paul has said multiple times in this letter, encourage one another with these words. So guys, be thankful in all circumstances this week, even if something difficult's happening. And if you need prayer for something going on in your life, you know, shoot me an email, write a comment. Would love to pray for you. That's the Minute on the Mountain. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for all your support. God bless you guys. We'll see you the next time we're out on the mountain.